Presidents who believed they were gods and died very badly. There are men who were not content with governing. They wanted to be worshipped. Some were born with political talent, others with a charisma that mesmerized crowds. But deep down, they all shared the same sickness of the soul, the desire to be gods. What drove them to grow so much? Was it power, fear, or the ambition for eternity? How could a mere human being come to believe he could defy heaven? At what point does a president cease to be a leader and become an idol? In every generation, men emerge who look in the mirror and no longer see a mortal. They see a savior. They believe that destiny belongs to them, that nations are their altar, and that their word is eternal. They transform politics into religion and their image into an object of worship. They promise earthly redemption, but demand absolute obedience. They sowed fear and reaped adoration. But power has its limits, and history sets those limits. Thrones wear out, applause fades, statues crumble, and dust returns to reclaim what belongs to dust. For no mortal heart can bear the weight of glory without breaking beneath it. Today, in scrutinizing, we will uncover the dark fate of those who believed themselves immortal. 7 presidents who thought they were gods and died tragically. 7 men who reached the pinnacle of power but were undone by the very pride that propelled them to the top. And you, watching this video, must ask yourself, what makes a man want to be a god? And why does history always end the same way, with power in ruins and pride buried? Because pride, even when disguised as greatness, always leads to death. And all who rise as a god ultimately fall as a mere man. Number 1. Kim Il-sung, the eternal president. In the heart of East Asia, a man decided to create his own god, and that god was himself. His name was Kim Il-sung, founder of North Korea and architect of one of the most closed dictatorships on the planet. He ruled from 1948 to 1994, and for nearly half a century, he molded his nation in his own image. He allowed no rivals, no religions, no dissenting voices. His word became law, his portrait an emblem, and his figure an object of national worship. From the moment he came to power, he proclaimed himself Eternal Father of the nation. He ordered his portrait to be placed in every home, every school, and every office. No one could hang another photograph taller than his. People were required to bow their heads when passing by his image, and anyone who refused was considered an enemy of the state. The regime presented him as the son of the 20th century. It was said that his birth was accompanied by a bright star and a rainbow over the mountain, as a sign that heaven had sent a chosen one. The message was clear. Kim Il-sung was not an ordinary man. He was a celestial being. His doctrine, known as Hushe, replaced faith in God with faith in the leader. Churches were closed, Bibles confiscated, and temples converted into indoctrination centers. In schools, children learned from a young age to thank him for everything: bread, life, and sunlight. Patriotic songs called him the guide who shines brighter than 1,000 suns. Every year, his birthday was celebrated as a mandatory national holiday, known as the Day of the Sun. On that day, millions of people paraded before his image. The streets were filled with flags, flowers, and songs in his honor. No one worked, no one argued, no one could stay home. The entire country had to pay homage to the man considered the source of all life and happiness. His birthday was quite literally a national liturgy. And to immortalize his power, he changed the country's calendar. Year 1 no longer began with Christ, but with his own birth in 1912. In North Korea, time itself was redesigned to revolve around him. But the nation's god was also mortal. On July 8, 1994, Kim Il-sung died suddenly of a massive heart attack at his official residence at the age of 82. The announcement of his death was presented as a cosmic tragedy. The entire country was compelled to mourn. Cameras showed crowds screaming, pounding the ground, begging forgiveness for not having loved him enough. Weeping was the law. Anyone who didn't cry was punished. His body was embalmed and placed in the Kumsusan Palace, which was transformed into a monumental mausoleum. Since then, millions of people file past his body every year, bowing before him as if he were still alive. He was declared Eternal President of the Republic. No other leader of the country can hold that title, because in their political system, Kim Il-sung is immortal. But the truth is different. The man who wanted to be eternal died like all men, unable to escape the death he swore to conquer. His heart stopped, his voice fell silent, and his power turned to dust. One thing is certain: when man substitutes his own name for God, he ends up worshipping his own grave. Gods of flesh always die, but they leave behind nations enslaved by their lies. And history repeats its warning: no man who believes himself eternal manages to conquer time. Number 2. Mao Zedong, the Red God of China. He ruled China from 1949 until his death in 1976. His name was Mao Zedong, the founder of the People's Republic of China. And for millions, he was not just a leader, he was a living god. His power was born from a revolution that promised justice and freedom, but ended up creating an unprecedented cult of personality. Mao's face was printed on banknotes, flags, clocks, murals, and books. His word became law, and his thinking became national doctrine. During his rule, everyone was required to study his work, the Little Red Book, a collection of phrases treated as sacred scripture. Children recited it in schools, soldiers memorized it before every battle, and crowds waved it in parades as if it were a political Bible. The entire country was transformed into a temple of obedience. Religious images were replaced by portraits of Mao. Where altars once stood, now there were his photographs. The people were required to bow before him and repeat his name with reverence. His most famous phrases revealed his delusions of grandeur. The people are the water, and I am the fish that lives in it. The revolution is not a banquet, it is a holy war. The red sun shines in the east, and its light never goes out. For millions of Chinese, Mao became the sun, the guide, the immortal spirit of the nation. The cult of personality surrounding him transcended the boundaries of politics and penetrated the very soul of the country. But while he was worshipped as a god, millions died of hunger and persecution during his political campaigns. The same man who claimed to liberate the people had enslaved them with fear and blind faith. In the mid-1970s, his health began to decline. On September 9, 1976, Mao Zedong died in Beijing, leaving behind a divided, impoverished, and traumatized country. His body was embalmed and placed in a mausoleum where thousands still pay homage. Even in death, his image continues to be venerated as that of an immortal being. Lesson: power that replaces God always destroys both the people and the leader. Mao promised paradise on earth, but ended up building an altar of idolatry and pain. Because when man becomes his own god, what he raises is not a kingdom, it is his own damnation. Number 3. Muammar Gaddafi, the King of Kings of Africa. In North Africa, a young military officer decided to change the destiny of his nation and ended up believing himself to be the owner of the continent. His name was Muammar Gaddafi, founder of the regime that ruled Libya from 1969 to 2011. He seized power in a military coup without firing a shot. He was only 27 years old, but he spoke with the conviction of someone who believes he is fulfilling a divine mission. He promised equality, independence, and justice, and presented himself as the redeemer of the Arab world. He said, "I am the voice of the people, the guide who does not die, the only one capable of uniting Africa." In a short time, his name became synonymous with absolute authority. The people called him the guide of the revolution, and he cultivated this image with almost religious symbolism. He published the Green Book, a text that all citizens were required to study. In it, he declared, "My word is not an opinion. It is a truth that must be followed." Schools taught his ideas as doctrine. Squares were filled with banners bearing his face. The media broadcast his speeches as if they were revelations. And every anniversary of the 1969 coup was celebrated with parades and fireworks. It was the day the country remembered the birth of the new order and the birth of its leader. Over the years, his ambition grew to the point of near divinity. He would say to his followers, "I am history walking. No one can erase my name." And on another occasion, he declared, "As long as the sun shines on Africa, Gaddafi will remain its light." The world saw him as an eccentric dictator, but within his nation, he was treated as a political messiah. His presence permeated every corner: public buildings, coins, songs, patriotic prayers. The cult of personality replaced faith. In 2008, more than 200 African tribal chiefs gathered for a ceremony in the city of Benghazi. There, amid golden crowns, carved thrones, and shimmering robes, they proclaimed Gaddafi, King of Kings of Africa. It was a symbolic act, but it revealed the size of his ego and his desire for immortality. However, power born of pride always ends in ruin. In 2011, the streets of Libya erupted in rebellion. The same crowds that had once chanted his name began demanding his downfall. History turned against him, and his own strength deserted him. Cornered, Gaddafi tried to escape, but was captured in his hometown of Sirte on October 20th, 2011. The leader who had demanded worship ended up humiliated and executed by his own people. His last words were a desperate cry, "What have I done to you?" But the people no longer saw a god. They saw a defeated man. His body was displayed before the cameras and then buried in a secret location so that his grave would not become a shrine. The King of Kings died without a crown, without a throne, and without glory. His voice, which once commanded with power, was silenced by the echo of his own arrogance. Lesson: pride disguised as divinity always ends in shame. The man who demands to be worshipped dies fearing the judgment of history. For no earthly King of Kings can withstand the day when the true king rises to judge. Number 4. Saddam Hussein, the new Nebuchadnezzar. He ruled Iraq for almost 25 years, from 1979 to 2003. His name was synonymous with power, war, and absolute control. But behind his political persona lurked something darker: the desire to be worshipped as a god. Saddam Hussein did not see himself as a president, but as the heir to the ancient kings of Babylon. He ordered the ruins of that legendary city to be rebuilt, and on the new walls, he had his name inscribed alongside that of the ancient Nebuchadnezzar II. Each brick read, "In the time of Saddam Hussein, protector of Iraq, who rebuilt the glory of Nebuchadnezzar." Thus, he wanted history to remember him as the new king of Mesopotamia. In his speeches, he compared himself to the great conquerors. He proudly declared, "Nebuchadnezzar ruled the world. I will make Iraq do so again." And on another occasion, he asserted, "I am history walking this earth." His image was on banknotes, in schools, in ministries, and in every town square. The media portrayed him as the son of the desert and the father of victory. The cult of personality surrounding him was total. The entire country was expected to pay him homage. Every anniversary of his rule was celebrated with military parades, fireworks, and patriotic songs in his honor. Crowds chanted his name as cameras focused on him like an emperor. But every empire born of pride has an end. In 2003, an international coalition invaded Iraq. His army quickly collapsed, and Saddam vanished. Weeks later, he was found hiding in a hole underground, covered in dust and powerless. The man who had believed himself to be a king was found as a fugitive. During his trial, he maintained the same arrogance. He declared before the judges, "I am the legitimate president of Iraq. No one has authority over me." But power had changed hands. On December 30th, 2006, he was hanged. The new Nebuchadnezzar ended up like all men who defy heaven, in humiliation and in the dust. The truth is that those who exalt themselves, believing themselves to be eternal, ultimately fall like mere mortals. Saddam Hussein wanted to be remembered as a god, but history only remembers him as another idol brought down by his own pride. Number 5. Benito Mussolini, the man of providence. He ruled Italy between 1922 and 1943. His name was Benito Mussolini, and for more than 20 years he believed he was invincible. He promised to build a new empire and ended up building his own ruin. Upon coming to power, he presented himself as the redeemer of the nation. He promised to restore to Italy the glory of the ancient Caesars. Crowds cheered him fervently, newspapers exalted him as a savior, and speeches portrayed him as chosen by history. One of his followers even said before the cameras, "Benito Mussolini is the man that Providence has sent to Italy." And Mussolini himself, proud, replied, "Italy is my creation. I am its destiny." His face was on schools, coins, and posters. The people were expected to pronounce his name with reverence. His passage through the streets was met with cheers and salutes. The leader was not just a politician. He had become a symbol of national adoration. Squares were packed to hear him speak. His gestures were theatrical, his voice powerful, his gaze defiant. Every word was treated as an indisputable truth. Mussolini did not only want to lead Italy, he wanted Italy to worship him. But pride always prepares its own end. His alliance with Germany dragged him into war and destruction. The country that had once adored him began to hate him. Cities were bombed, and the nation that had promised greatness ended in ruins. On July 25, 1943, he was deposed by his own government. He tried to escape in disguise, but was captured by Italian rebels. On April 28, 1945, he was executed along with his companion. Their bodies were hung in a public square in full view of the crowd. The man who proclaimed himself sent by Providence died without honor, without glory, and without power. Number 6. Napoleon Bonaparte, the emperor who wanted to be God. He was one of the most powerful men in modern history. His name was Napoleon Bonaparte, the general who rose from unknown soldier to emperor of almost all of Europe. His military genius made him a legend, but his pride transformed him into a god in his own eyes. In 1804, Napoleon decided to crown himself Emperor of France. During the ceremony at Notre Dame Cathedral, the Pope was present, but Napoleon took the crown in his own hands and placed it on his own head. It was his way of telling the world that he didn't need divine authority, that he himself was his own authority. From that day forward, his figure became an object of worship. Coins bore his face, soldiers marched shouting his name, and conquered nations saw him as invincible. He said with conviction, "Destiny is in my hands, and also I am the state." His ambition knew no bounds. He wanted to dominate Europe and then the world. His strategy was feared, his power absolute, and his ego boundless. In palaces, he was spoken of as the chosen one of history. But human glory has an expiration date. His wars left millions dead and a continent exhausted. In 1812, his army was destroyed in the Russian campaign. In 1814, he was overthrown. And after a brief return to power, he was definitively defeated at the Battle of Waterloo. The emperor who wanted to rule the world was captured and exiled to a remote island in the South Atlantic, called St. Helena. Number 7. Ebrahim Raisi, the president who defied heaven. In the heart of Iran, a nation marked by religion and power, a man emerged who blended the two to the point of believing he spoke on behalf of heaven. His name was Ebrahim Raisi, president of the Islamic Republic of Iran from 2021 to 2024. He was born in the holy city of Mashhad, where from childhood he was raised in the religious laws of Islam. He was a judge, a cleric, and a politician. For years, he presented himself as the guardian of the faith, but his faith transformed into ideology. and his justice into power. In his speeches, he promised a kingdom of purity and asserted that Iran had a divine mission on earth. He stated firmly, "Our nation does not fear the judgment of men, for we act with the authority of God." Over time, he began to speak as if his will were the will of heaven. He vowed to wipe Israel off the map, challenge the world powers, and defend his cause as if it were eternal. For many, he wasn't a president. He was a religious leader with absolute political power. His figure was venerated in the state media. He was called the chosen one of the revolution, the continuator of the divine legacy, and the perfect servant of the Imam. But his conviction of being guided by God led him to defy not only men, but also the limits of his own destiny. On May 19, 2024, while returning from a religious ceremony, the presidential helicopter crashed in the mountains of East Azerbaijan. None of the passengers survived. The news shook the Islamic world. The man who believed himself untouchable fell from the heaven he claimed to represent. His death was seen by millions as a divine warning. The entire country went into mourning, but also into reflection. Power, religion, and pride had been intertwined on a single throne, and that throne crumbled. Thus we come to the end of this video. Remember, God humbles the proud and exalts the humble. No matter how high a man rises, if he forgets who gave him life, the very power that lifted him up can bring him down. History proves this. Time and again, kings, dictators, and presidents who believed themselves invincible ended up defeated by their own pride. Because no throne, no flag, and no human name can take the place of God. See you in the next video. God bless you.